So as everyone knows by now, the the fires are absolutely ravaging California. And I mean, this is an absolute horrible thing. But I think this is something that could have been avoided simply because the leadership in California is 1000% incompetent, and incompetent to the point to where they all need to be removed. The only saving grace California has is to get some Republicans over there with some brains. And a lot of California is actually Republican. It's just the cesspool city strongholds that hold the bulk of the people that are Democrat, San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, and so on. That's where all the Democrats are. And everybody who lives out is generally Republican, and that's usually how it works in all major cities. All the Democrats go into the cities where all the crime is, and the people with a brain called Republicans, they move out of the city limits into the country where it's safer and they can actually breathe a little more clean air and not get bogged down by endless miles of congestion, smog, crime, everything else. But for some reason, Democrats love that. I mean, liberals absolutely love that stuff. So it's kind of amazing. But over there in Cali, we have the mayor over there, Karen Bass, who completely is, she's a typical liberal mayor on the grift, doesn't do anything good for her constituents. She's just there to get fat and rich. And like all liberal politicians do, they get very fat and very rich. What is it? AOC, I believe, was a bartender and makes $147,000 a year. Isn't that what they make, the congressperson over there? Or is it $247 a year? I can't remember, whatever it is. But anyway, she's been over there for what, 4-6 years? And now she has a net worth over $20 million. Do the math. So that's pretty much how the liberals operate. Go to Congress or go into politics and become very, very wealthy because they're all on the grift. I don't care what you say. They're all on the grift. And but going back to Karen Bass, apparently even the Hollywood liberal elites are starting to get fed up with the insanity and the incompetence and the stupidity that goes on with their liberal counterparts in government. And finally, they're coming out and they're saying something about Karen Bass, who's just been an absolute disaster, in my opinion, as they all are, in my opinion. So apparently, Sarah Michelle Gellar was the first one to fire off on this moronic mayor over there, and she puts down, City of LA, you want everyone to evacuate, yet you have complete gridlock and not one traffic cop on the roads helping. Do they still have cops in LA? I mean, I know they cut all the funding in California across the board for cops. Do they still have cops in LA? I'm kind of surprised if there's still cops over there, because crime is running rampant. And, it's very funny to me that, you talk to the liberals, well, the crime statistics are down. No, they're not. Crime statistics are at record highs right now. There was a report that was released, and I do not have it in front of me. I apologize, but you could probably find it. If you go on to X, you could probably dig it up. The FBI released a report that during COVID, what was it, 50% of all major cities in the United States reported either less than half or 0% crime over the last 4 years because of COVID. I guess it just hit the brakes. So violent crimes were not being reported. And if I'm not mistaken, I think California reported New York City reported less than 25% of their violent crimes. Is either LA or San Diego reported zero. You're going to tell me in the last 4 years there's been no violent crimes in LA or San Diego, and they reported zero. So that's why the crime stats look down. But you can go anywhere in this world and talk to anybody. Crime is at a rampant pace right now under Joey Bribes and Kamala Drinks on the House Harris. So moving on with this story, and the only reason I'm reporting this, because I think it's funny when the liberals come out to eat their own, because if you've ever watched my channel, then you know how much I feel about the Hollywood liberal elites. I think these people are a waste of space. They live in a fantasy world that most people like me and everybody I know, we just simply can't connect with them because they live in their glass houses, and man, do they love to throw stones. The liberal elites are the first ones, the ones in Hollywood, the first ones to throw stones. And apparently, I guess because of the insanity of America, we put so much power in the hands of these mostly non-talented actors and actresses. For instance, George Clooney. This dude literally had enough power to overthrow a sitting president. That is mind-boggling to me. Absolutely mind-boggling that George Clooney has that kind of power. And it's our fault because we're the ones who gave him that kind of power, George Clooney. Because, the people here in America, man, they will worship a star in a heartbeat. I mean, look at the Kardashians, for crying out loud. These are the biggest untalented group of people I've ever seen in my life that are making millions, hundreds of millions off being untalented. That's absolutely shocking to me. But a few people have jumped on this. Sarah Foster, she wrote on X, we pay the highest taxes in California. Our fire hydrants were empty. Our vegetation was overgrown, brush not cleared, which is what I was getting ready to mention. And this is why California is just a big tinderbox. Our reservoirs were empty and by our governor. Go figure. Because tribal leaders wanted to save fish. Oh, my God. Our fire department budget was cut by our mayor, but thank God drug addicts are getting their drug kits. I got to be honest. I don't know who Sarah Foster is. Liberal or not, I already like her. Gavin Newsom, resign. Your far-left politics have ruined our state and also our party. Who the hell is Sarah Foster? Does anybody know who Sarah Foster is? Let's see what this chick has done. Sarah Foster, because I don't don't know her. Sarah Foster, Instagram. I was trying to see if she's an actress. So I may have to recant, I mean, I like what she said, but, anybody from Hollywood, I've got I got a big sore spot for those people in Hollywood. I don't like them. The Big Bounce, Psych 9, Debs, demoted, never heard of her. She's some kind of actress. Hell, I don't know. But it sounds like she's got at least a smattering of a brain up there. So I do like that. One of the comments, you pay high taxes to line their pockets. Gavin just bought a $9.1 million home. He pays $60,000 in tuition for their oldest son and is keeping their old home that they paid $3.7 million for, all on just under $202,000 tail salary. Wonder if he's into insider trading too. Well, of course he is. And this is it's kind of funny that I pulled this up because I've not read these posts. This is the first time I'm seeing these as I'm doing this, but it's kind of funny because what's going on in California is just one massive ass tinderbox. That is all California is. And these morons over in California, they're so afraid of disturbing the insects in the forest that they refuse to clear the brush. So the tree falls, the tree rots, it becomes tinder. The insects move into the tree so they can have more insects, and they're so afraid of upsetting the insects, they will not go in there and clean the underbrush, which is just, as you know, a fire waiting to happen. But they're cool with the Palisades burning down. This is the damnedest thing I've ever seen in my life. They will not clean out the underbrush, but they will let Palisades burn down. Now, I'm not saying that they want the Palisades to burn down, but the Palisades is burning down because they will not clean the underbrush. It's literally a tinderbox over there, and the liberals are so ignorant, they would rather try to save some species of ant than the entirety of the Palisades. That's liberal thinking for you. And like she said here, our reservoirs were emptied by our governor, greasy Gavin Newsom, because tribal leaders want to save fish. So instead of letting the fish go the way of the dodo, they would rather the Palisades go the way of the dodo. And this is what I'm talking about with liberals. And like I said, if you've seen this podcast, you know how much, I have a seething for the liberal elite Hollywoods. These people just drive me insane because they're shockingly hypocritical. Now, I don't know Sarah Foster. I don't know where she stands. I don't know Michelle Gellar. I don't know where they stand politically. But just from, I can say I could profile these people pretty easily. They're liberals. Sarah Foster may not be a liberal because of what she said. Your left-leaning, bada bada bing. Your left-leaning policies have ruined our state and also our party. So she is a liberal. So let's get something straight. Even though Sarah Foster sounds like she's making sense, she voted for these people. And this is what I'm talking about, the hypocrisy of the liberals. Because what they will do, prime example, what happened in Chicago. Lori Lightfoot was the worst thing in the world that happened to Chicago. She was an absolute disaster over there. So what do? Is they kick out Lori Lightfoot and put in an absolute worst governor. somebody who is actually more left and radical than Lori Lightfoot. What's this guy's name? Is it Brandon Johnson? Yeah, Brandon Johnson. Yeah, Brandon Johnson. They put in Brandon Johnson, who's done more damage to Chicago than Lori Lightfoot did. And that is hard to do. I mean, when you're at the bottom of suck, you must really be bad if you could suck worse than that. And somehow Brandon Johnson managed to pull that off. But that's what Chicago deserves, because that's what they keep voting for. So they deserve it. So Sarah Foster, she is a Democrat. She voted for these people, and now she's going to complain about these people when all she had to do was vote Republican, and none of this, chances are, none of this would ever have happened. So let's see. Let's get back onto the story here. And so Sarah Foster, she flies off. Sarah Michelle Gellar, she gets on top of it. Jillian Michaels, now, I do actually like Jillian Michaels. She seems to actually have a brain. I think, don't hold me to this, but I think Jillian Michaels could actually be an independent, but do not hold me to that. But man, she went on X and just absolutely started going off the deep end on the liberal nut jobs over in California. She posted on X, I lost a home in 2018 in the 2018 Woolly Fire. Was in Cali for New Year's this year and podcast. Just evacuated my mom from her California home. The mayor is apparently in Ghana. More on that, and well, I'll just go and talk about that now. So we'll come back to this. So if you remember Karen Bass, these people are freaking hilarious, man. If you remember Karen Bass, when all that shit was going on down in Texas, Ted Cruz fleeing Texas in the middle of a deadly crisis is part of a larger pattern of the GOP abandoning folks in crisis. We need to build a movement to kick them all out. Meanwhile, California is burning to the ground and she's in Ghana. This is what I'm talking about. These liberal elites live in their glass houses, and boy, they're the first ones to throw stones every time. Every time. Remember during COVID, you must get your shots. You must wear a mask. You must stay inside your house because you're spreading COVID to everybody. Everybody. Meanwhile, AOC's down in Miami partying on the dance floor, not wearing a mask, right there in the height of COVID, just cutting it up, having a good time. Because she's not going to burrow herself into her house. That's for the minions, the peons. That's for us, not for the liberal elites. Nancy Pelosi, after she shut everything down in California, went to the hairstylist. Nobody else could go, but Nancy Pelosi could go. Was it Gavin Newsom that was out in the restaurants just having a grand old time without a mask? When they started to open the restaurants back up, wasn't that Gavin Newsom that did that? I mean, they're such hypocrites, and this is why I have such a problem with these people. So she goes on, let's see. Apparently in Ghana, the fire department's budget was apparently cut by $17 million. It was. This mayor, Karen Bass, actually cut the fire department's budget, and someone made the decision not to refill some of the reservoirs. Yeah, that would be Gavin Newsom. So now some fire hydrants are dry. Leadership in California is beyond negligent. This is completely unacceptable. Negligent is where it's so far beyond negligent, it's not even funny anymore. And I'm not laughing because the fires in California are funny. This is devastating. This is something, that I pray nobody ever has to see in their lifetime. And unfortunately, thousands are seeing it in California right now. But the problem is the liberal Democrat leaders. That's where the problem lies, okay? Think about this people. They refused to clear the underbrush in the forest to save an insect. They emptied the reservoirs to save a fish, okay? These people got taxed how much money to build these reservoirs that were never completed, and the ones that were completed were empty. They're there in case of a fire. But the liberals are more concerned about a fish. They're more concerned about a species of ant in the forest. So all I hear from that is the Palisades is expendable. You know what? Let it burn. We saved this ant and we saved the fish. Who cares about it? Let the rest of it burn. That's all I'm hearing out of the liberals. And it's just shocking to me how these people go on. Jillian Michaels, she continues. In 2014, voters in California put $2.7 billion towards securing future water storage through Prop 1. There you go. That's what I was just talking about. 2025. Not a single reservoir is complete. Over 30,000 people have been evacuated. 1,400 brave firefighters put their lives at risk. They deserve better. This is an outrage at Gavin Newsom. Jillian, why are you even sending anything to Gavin Newsom? He's not going to read it. He does not care. Gavin Newsom has proven time and time and time again, he's only there for the fame and the money. He has done more damage to California than any governor I've ever seen do to a state in my lifetime. But here's the caveat. They had a chance. There was a recall effort to get Gavin Newsom out of office, and it failed. So guess what? California, sorry, babe. Hate it for you. Hate it for you. I hate to sit over here on the East Coast and watch the entire state burn down. I hate that you're losing your houses, your cars, your memorabilia, lives that will be lost, pets that will be lost. I hate that for everybody. I hate it for all of them. But you almost brought this on yourself. This is what happens when you put bad leadership into the role of trying to protect you, your livelihood, your state, your city, your community. This is what happens. They spend billions of dollars of reservoirs. Some of them I do believe were completed. None of them were full. None of them were full because the fish was more important than you. This moron mayor cuts the budget of the fire department of a place sitting in a tinderbox. Take a match. Gone. California. Gone. And that's what's going on right now. So it makes sense to me. Let's not clear the underbrush to save the ant. And while we're at it, even though we are notorious for raging fires, let's cut the budget of the fire department. So where'd that $17 million go? In her pocket? Is that how she's taking these trips? You know, because these people, these liberals, they, like I said, they go in for the fame and for the money. They don't give a shit about their constituents. Kathy Hochul, prime example, up in New York, puts her insane, cashless bail laws into place, letting all the criminals out, letting them walk. What was it, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago? That guy beats the living shit out of his wife. I mean, beats her. They arrest him, take him to jail, no cash, no bail. I mean, he gets bail, no cash, goes immediately home and kills her. Then Kathy Hochul blames the system, and it was the very system that she put in place. This is a liberal. And what happens? New York, they vote for Kathy Hochul again. They just keep putting them back in office. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. AOC, prime example. What do they make? $247,000 a year, congressperson? She's been in there, 4 years? How is she worth over $20 million? She was a bartender before she got into Congress. I think it's $147,000 a year. $147,000 a year. Now worth over $20 million. Do the math. Liberals stay in politics forever. Nancy Pelosi, worth how many millions of dollars? How many millions of dollars? Insider trading at its best. Moving on, Julie Michaels posts up again. I mean, she's just wearing Gavin Newsom out. And like I said, if I'm not mistaken, Julie Michaels is an independent, so I don't have the bone to pick with her like I do all the other liberal nut jobs. California Governor Gavin Newsom issued a press release admitting they knew about the insane fire risk this past Sunday because he was propositioning fire engines. And yet he just called in the National Guard a few hours ago. Pacific Palisades ran out of water at 3 a.m. I'm so upset for the people of California, my family who stayed, my lifelong friends who lived there, our brave firefighters. This is not a partisan issue. It's a pure incompetence. It's pure incompetence and misprioritization. That is absolutely correct. She hit the nail on the head. It is pure incompetence by liberal Democrat politicians. They don't care about you. They only care about themselves. And they prove it over and over and over again. Nobody can waste money like a liberal. Nobody can. So these reservoirs, how much money did she say that they tossed into it? $2.7 billion. And I think a couple of them were complete, but don't hold me to that. And she says not one single reservoir is complete. Okay. What about Joey Bribes and Kamala Drinks on the House Harris? How many billions did they spend on those 500 chargers they were going to make over the 4 years? They made 9. 9. Spent billions. Billions. Made 9 chargers. They were supposed to make 500. They made 9. And they're all coming out of office millionaires. Every one of them. They go into a job. Now, the president pays what, $490 a year, something like that. Let's see what they do. President's salary. President's salary. Let's see what the president of the United States makes. $400. I said $490. Okay, so he gets $400,000 a year is what the president makes. Congress salary. $174. So yeah, I was right there at $174,000 a year, and AOC is worth $20 million. Figure that one out. Yeah, do the math. Do the math. Liberals stay there for a lifetime. They never leave. They never leave. On Libs of TikTok, here on the Karen Bass thing about Ted Cruz fleeing. Hey, Karen Bass, how was your taxpayer-funded trip to Africa as your city burned to the ground and your constituents were fleeing for their lives? And this is the one where she was talking about Ted Cruz. You know what? Word of advice to liberals, in Hollywood and these nut job liberal politicians. If you're going to put a post up, you might want to put a shelf life on that post. You might, after 30 days, I'm going to pull it down. Because I've seen more posts over the last 4 years come back to haunt liberals. It is not funny. I've seen how many posts that have come back to haunt these liberals. Y'all might want to start putting a shelf life on these things for about 4 years. So I just wanted to talk about that. I hate that everything's going on in California that's going on. The hypocrisy of the liberals is absolutely, it's not stunning. This is what I expect. They turn on their own. They vote for these clowns. Then they instantly turn on these clowns when things don't go right. Then they either re-vote for these clowns or they vote for somebody 10 times worse than the clown they had in before, which is the case in Chicago. Absolutely amazing. Like these people are never going to learn. They're never going to learn. God bless all the people in California who are losing their properties, their houses, their livelihood. This is absolutely terrible thing going on. What I do want to know is if they're going to pull their insurance like they do to the houses in Florida. You can't get flood insurance in Florida anymore. You know what? You're going to build a house in Florida? Sorry, tough. So I don't know if they're going to pull their fire insurance because this happens year after year in California, just like the floods happen in Florida year after year. So I want to know if they're going to pull all their fire insurance because this is apparently, like I said, California is just a tinderbox. It is literally a tinderbox just waiting to burn, and it's burning. Unfortunately, it is burning, and this is devastating, and this is such a bad thing to happen. And I'm going to say it anyway, good or bad. You want to start solving these problems? Vote out the Democrats. Vote in Republicans. Vote in people that have a brain. It's common sense that if we build new reservoirs, we fill them with water. A reservoir's only function in this world is to hold water. What good is an empty reservoir? Now, if a Republican was in charge, the reservoirs would have been full because it's common sense. It is simply common sense. If a Republican is in charge, they're going to say, well, hang on now. This whole place could burn in a heartbeat. We need to go into the forest and start cleaning this up because that would drastically lower the chances of these absolutely massive wildfires. I bet you the percentage would drop by 80% would they do that and not decide to save the ant. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, thinking out loud. I could be wrong about it all. I could be wrong about everything. Maybe the ant is more important than Palisades. Maybe that fish is more important than water in the reservoirs to save the Palisades. Maybe I'm wrong about all of it. I probably am, to be honest with you. I'm the moron here. It just sounds like common sense to me, but what the hell do I know? I'm just a dude who hosts a brand new little bitty podcast. I'm nowhere near as smart as Gavin Newsom. I'm nowhere near as smart as that guy, apparently. Absolutely hilarious. So, I just wanted to get that out of the way. California, do yourself a favor. Vote these idiots out. Put in some people with some common sense.